The wind across the Wyoming high country carried the bite of snowmelt and the loneliness of forgotten men. Caleb Hart had learned to live with both. He'd built his cabin not for comfort, but for silence, a handful of logs stacked by his own hands, a roof of rough pine, and the endless company of the Snake River. That was all he needed. It was 1874, nearly a decade since the war, though its ghost still rode beside him. The battlefields had faded, but not the memories. He'd watched men die in the mud, brothers by blood and by oath. When he came home, one was buried, and his fiancée had married another. So he'd left people behind for good. Out here, the mountains didn't ask questions. That morning, Caleb was at the corral, bent over a horseshoe, when he heard a sound that didn't belong to the wilderness. Not bird, not coyote. Human. A woman's voice, sharp and desperate, carried faintly over the roar of the swollen river. He froze. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then it came again, weaker this time. Caleb dropped his tools and ran. The Snake River was a wild, brown beast that day, snowmelt choked and furious, thrashing with uprooted trees and tumbling branches. His eyes searched the chaos until he saw her, a dark shape tangled in a fallen cottonwood halfway across. Her arms flailed weakly, her head dipping beneath the surface. He didn't think. Boots off. Gun belt aside. He plunged into the freezing torrent. The cold hit like a hammer, stealing his breath, but he pressed on. He'd dragged men from the jaws of war, he could pull one woman from a river. The current fought him every step, slamming debris into his shoulders. He gritted his teeth, forcing his way forward until he reached her. Her face was pale, lips blue, eyes barely open. One arm clung to a branch, the other was trapped beneath the water. "Hold on," he shouted, though she likely couldn't hear. He grabbed a nearby limb, anchoring himself, then filled his lungs and dove. The water was black, cold as death. His hands searched blindly until he found her leg wedged between branches. He forced it free, lungs burning, and pushed upward, dragging her with him. They broke the surface together. She was limp, barely breathing. He hauled her to shore and collapsed beside her on the muddy bank, gasping in rhythm with the river's roar. Then she coughed, water spilling from her lips, followed by a soft groan. Her eyes fluttered open, green as moss, dazed and terrified. "You're safe," Caleb said, his voice low and steady. "You're all right now." She tried to sit, but trembled violently. Her soaked dress clung to her, torn at the shoulder, modesty stripped by the river's cruelty. Realizing it, she turned away, clutching the fabric to her chest. Where am I?" she whispered, teeth chattering. "My land," Caleb replied. "Near the Snake River." He stood, water dripping from his clothes. "You need warmth. My cabin's close." He reached for her hand. She flinched. "No. Don't take me to town. Please." Her voice cracked, filled with a dread deeper than cold water or death. "I'm not taking you to town," he said quietly. "Just the cabin or you'll freeze." For a moment she searched his face, as if reading the truth behind his rough features. Then she nodded, strength fading. When her knees buckled, he caught her and lifted her easily. She was lighter than she looked, all bone and tremor, like a bird stunned by a storm. He pushed open the cabin door with his shoulder. Inside, the small room smelled of wood smoke and solitude. A fire still burned in the hearth. He set her near the flames. "Get those wet things off," he said gruffly, turning his back to give her privacy. "You'll catch your death if you don't." He busied himself at the stove, pouring water into a pot, pretending not to hear the soft rustle of wet fabric behind him. Coffee grounds, whiskey, the familiar motions steadied his hands against the strange flutter in his chest. When he turned, she was wrapped in his blanket, her torn dress draped over a chair to dry. Her dark hair hung in damp curls, a bruise marked one cheek. He handed her a steaming cup. "Drink this." She took it, trembling. "Thank you." Caleb nodded and sat across from her, watching color creep back into her face. For a while, only the fire cracked and the kettle hissed. "My name's Caleb Hart," he said, finally, the words feeling foreign after so long unspoken. She looked up, meeting his eyes. "Mara Keene." Silence again. She held the cup close, staring into the flames as if afraid to look anywhere else. Caleb studied her, the torn dress, dirt under her nails, the way she flinched at small sounds. She wasn't just lost, she was running. He didn't ask. Out here, people's ghosts were their own. As warmth filled the cabin, her shivering eased, but not the tension in her shoulders. When she spoke again, it was barely a whisper. "I'll be gone by morning." "The river won't be down by morning," Caleb said flatly. "You're stuck a while." She nodded, staring into the flames like a woman watching her past burn. That night, she lay on his cot. Caleb took the floor beside the fire. The air was heavy, the silence alive with unsaid things. From the dark, her voice came softly. "Mr. Hart." He didn't move. "What is it?" Her words trembled. "Will you stay, if I undress?" The river's distant rush filled the quiet that followed. Caleb closed his eyes, the weight of her question pressing against the dark. When he turned, she stood beside the cot, the blanket clutched to her shoulders, tears streaking her face. There was no seduction, only desperation. She wasn't offering comfort, she was offering herself out of habit, out of survival. Caleb's jaw tightened. "Get some sleep, Mrs. Keene. No one's going to touch you here." She made a small, broken sound and turned away, sobbing softly. He lay awake long after, watching the coals glow faint red, like ghosts of cannon fire. By dawn, the storm had eased. Mara stirred to the smell of coffee. "The river's still high," Caleb said. "Then I'll stay until it's safe." Days passed quietly. Mara worked from sunrise to sunset, unable to rest, cleaning, tending the garden, mending what she found broken. "You don't have to," Caleb told her once. "I need to," she replied. "I'm earning my keep." He let her. Work was medicine for certain kinds of hurt. He watched her move through the days, limping slightly from her trapped leg, her eyes distant but alive. She was not weak. She was broken, yes, but broken like glass that still caught the light. At night, they sat by the fire, she mending clothes, he carving wood. The silence between them softened into a fragile peace. On the third day, he found her weeping over a small silver locket. Inside was a sketch of a baby boy. "My son," she whispered. "He'd be 2 this spring." Caleb only nodded. Some grief didn't need questions. Later that week, a rider approached Tommy Briggs, a ranch hand from town. "Hart," he called. "Boss sent me to check the river didn't take you." His gaze slid past Caleb toward the cabin. "Didn't know you had company." Caleb's tone was flat. "State your business." Tommy shifted uneasily. "Town's talking. Says a woman widow Keene ran off with a box of money after her husband died. Marshall's got her land posted now." Mara went pale, gripping the doorframe. "You best not believe everything you hear," Caleb said, voice like steel. Tommy raised his hands. "Just talk, Hart. Folks are looking for her." Then he rode off. Mara's eyes filled with tears. "It's true," she said softly. "My husband was a gambler. When he died, the men he owed came for me. I had no deed, no papers. We married on the trail by a preacher who vanished before filing anything. I ran before they could take what little I had left." Caleb's face softened. "You did what you had to." That night, she heard his story, the brother lost to war, the fiancé who hadn't waited, the years of silence. When he finished, the quiet that followed felt different, shared instead of empty. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "Don't," he said. "Just rest." But rest didn't come. Before dawn, he woke to her fever. She trembled, whispering nonsense. He pressed a cool cloth to her forehead. "Stay with me," he murmured. Hours passed. Her breath grew shallow. Then, half-conscious, she whispered, "You're the only one who ever touched me without wanting something." Caleb froze. That simple truth cracked something open in him, something tender, raw, long buried. By morning, her fever broke. She slept peacefully for the first time in days. When she woke, she found him by the window. "The river's gone down," she said quietly. He nodded. "You'll be able to leave soon." She hesitated. "Caleb, may I stay a little longer?" He met her gaze, walls breaking silently. The crossing's still dangerous, he said roughly. You can work for your keep until it's safe. Her smile was faint but real. Thank you. The days that followed were softer. The cabin that once held only wind and silence now held life-bread baking, quiet humming, the sound of two souls relearning peace. Caleb never said it aloud, but her presence steadied him. For the first time in years, the quiet felt shared. But peace in the West was a fragile thing. One afternoon, a rider came hard and fast Tommy again. There's a man in town looking for her, he said breathlessly. Calls himself Amos Keene. Says she stole money. He's got men with him, mean ones. Mara froze. Amos, she whispered. Silas's brother. Caleb's jaw hardened. We'll go to the sheriff. Set it right. But in Lander, justice was as crooked as the trail. Sheriff Brody listened to Amos and smirked. Funny thing, he said. Her story sounds like trouble chasing trouble. Caleb's fists tightened. You'd take a liar's word over hers. I take what makes sense, Brody said lazily. And her running does. Then your sense is blind, Caleb growled. He took Mara's hand and pulled her into the street. We're leaving. They rode until sunset, finding shelter in an abandoned barn. Mara's hands shook. He'll never stop. He wants what's left of my life. Then he'll have to take me first, Caleb said quietly. That broke her. She cried, truly cried for the first time. Between sobs, she told him everything. The beatings, the lost child, the shame she carried. When she finished, Caleb took her hand and pressed it to his chest. No more running, he said. Not from him. Not from the past. The next day, they rode back to town. By sundown, Amos was the one in chains, thanks to a weary old judge who still believed in truth. Weeks passed. Caleb healed from a wound he'd taken in the fight, Mara never leaving his side. When he finally stood again, he looked at her with quiet certainty. I want to wake up beside you every morning if you'll have a cowboy with a scarred heart. Her eyes shone. Only if you'll have a widow with too many ghosts. He smiled, the first real one in years. I already do. They were married beneath the cottonwood by the river, the same river that had once tried to claim her life. The water ran calm now, whispering beneath the wide Wyoming sky. As they rode out together, Mara's hand found his. Her fingers fit perfectly in his rough palm. The ghosts of their pasts followed still, but now, they walked beside them, not between them. When the sun dipped behind the mountains, she turned to him and whispered, Will you stay now? Caleb's hand tightened around hers. For as long as you'll have me. The wind swept their laughter across the valley, down to the river that had once taken her and now gave her back, whole.